Wow. Mm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, hey, David. Hey, how you doing, man? I didn't see you there. I've been kind of busy trying to get some of my Thomas and friends to work. It's been a while since I've been able to run with them. Okay, so you want like a little layout tour, huh? Okay, see what I can do. Well, this is the CRSR Railroad. Stands for Common Rail Services Railroad. It was established back in 2008 and I got the name from a contest that I put on Facebook for about a week, and that became the winning railroad name. I'll turn the camera here so I can show you my downtown scene. Okay. Well, to start off, this is my version of downtown University Place before it became an official city, and this is my actual what I thought it was going to look like at the time. And we're looking north along the main line here. The street here is Crossing Road, and this is the station platform. This is where I do most of my events on passenger trains. Okay. The station is called Milepost Zero. I call it that because when I first laid my rails back in 2008, the very first rails I laid was where my milepost started, which is considered milepost zero. So the station represents the location of it, and the actual location of milepost zero, I can turn and show you, is right here. This little area up in here, I made like a little vintage area here that shows where the first tracks were laid, and I kept the actual tracks right here. I got a little sign up here too, marking the historic event, and I put a fence around it. I want to make sure I didn't mess those rails up. The next area over here is Events Park. This is pretty much the staging area that I use when I want to run passenger trains or have any kind of event for holidays or Memorial Day or whatever I want to do. And as you can see, I put some tall statues up in there to help represent that. And this is the concession stand that I created. Kind of give you a look on the bottom. It's made of cardboard. It's one of the first buildings I did. And I even added a little small office on the end of it. This is the bathroom. You can't see the other side of it, but there's an opening in there. And then you have a juice stand for if you want to eat. And over here, this area is this kids parking area where they can go to the playground, have some fun. And in the back, there's a helipad for the helicopter, which is named Red Runner. And you turn around, you have the center over here, which is used to help clean up cows and other animals before they get sent off for processing. It's called the base farming industry. So that way they bring them in. Let's see what that's going to look like. And trucks bring them in and they unload and they come around and they end up going inside here and they go up the line and inside the building. And on the other side of the building, over here, is there where the cattle cars are sitting. That's where they get loaded up. Now from here, they'll get sent out south and they head to DuPont, which is DuPont staging, where the animals get transferred to the meat packaging center. And this is the main line right here. And the main line goes around back into the town. But if you go straight, you head off towards the holding yard back there. Okay. Now the background buildings are quite interesting story behind them. If you look at the big building back here, when I first created that, that was completely made out of one sheet of styrene that I painted. And I have not been able to find a single piece of styrene that big again. And I bought it from the hobby store on the weekend that they actually closed down for good. So that building has a lot of sentimental value to me. And then you have here the University Place Grain Center. And then over there you got the hotel for the city, which is owned by the railroad investing company, RRS. Now for details, I did something because you can't see in the back. I create a little post sign to tell you the length of cars. So you got L1 for length 1. So that when you get here, you know that's the end of it. But it can fit 2 cars. Just something to keep in mind when you're doing your switching. Remind you. And as you zoom around, you got the NF5 Patterson Warehouse. Now, Patterson Warehouse was named after a good friend of my mom's that after I left DC, we don't know what happened to him. We don't know if he died or he just gave up or what. And my mom and I tried to look for him for almost 2 years, and nobody knows what happened to him. Because this was years ago, back in the 90s and early 2000s. So if he is gone, at least I named the warehouse after him to help remind me of a good friend. He was a great guy. He really was. He was always upfront with you, serious, but he was always honest with you, and he was more like a mentor. The next one here is one of the first buildings I had back in '92. Was part of the Patterson Warehouse. This was the original Patterson Warehouse, and this became NFI. So I put the two together, and Anchor Bank is the one that owns the rights on it. And these things hold furniture, where you bring in supplies and sell furniture. Another interesting thing about I call my Florida dad. He had a layout that got me into model railroading in Florida. So I call him my Florida dad. And I found this building on eBay, so I named it after him, Russell Tower, which he died almost when I came back from a trip and seen him almost a week later, and I was really devastated by it. So this helped me remind me of him. And of course, you got Thomas, and in the background you have Rockwell Industries with some Walther's customized buildings that I'm still working on to get it up and finished. But Rockwell Industries is the competitor to my investment company, which is RRS, which is Regional Rail Services. And so Rockwell is kind of moving in on my territory, trying to get a piece and disrupt everything that my investment company is doing. So it's a little bit of a challenge trying to compete with them on the same layout. As you can see, it goes all the way back there. They got a lot. They got a lot. Okay, now let's moving on. If I can do this, I can't move it. You got my engine facility, and way in the back over there, that's the Seco lines I call it, named after the old company called Seco that used to do railroad rebuilding of engines, locomotives, and rolling stock. And so that was my version of it. But what I did was I changed the building, and it's now the General Plastics Pacific Container Corp. But the actual rail line is called um, Seco. And as you're heading back along this route along the main line, you're heading southbound, and then you'll be leaving University Place. This is one of my newer areas that I started working on called Pringlesville. This is where the teenagers like to hang out and show off their customized cars and everything. I actually laid down a little bit of grass mat and started putting some trees down. And in the background, you can see the town itself. And sequentially, this is 45th Street right here. And as you go around Pringles, this is Bridgeport, and that's the shopping center in the background. And up here is the branch line that goes to the yard. And down here, this is the main line that heads south until you get to the BNSF Tacoma Railroad Junction. And as you come around, you start to leave, and now you head into DuPont staging area. It comes down a grade. I believe I measured out 2% grade. I think I measured it out to. And inside here, this is the DuPont staging area up in here. This is where I used to do a lot of my work, doing my switching for my trains. But this is now going to be replaced at a newer staging yard, a much bigger one in town of Auburn. And as you continue down below, the main line, this is also where I keep the Passenger train. for Sound Transit. And they got their own dedicated track. Now up top at the branch line, that's the main yard where I do a lot of my switching. Got a few cars in it right now. And over here is the town of Tycoon. And you got a Burger King, an Applebee's, and this right here is going to be, I believe, a Dairy Queen. I just got to put it together. And then back here, you have the Plastic Pellets Company that is used to create the products that we use every single day. And there's the silos in the background over there. Cute little thing I put together. It's made of cardboard, but I made a chassis and put some wheels on it. This light rail that's in the area. They don't actually make this version in HO or any scale, but I got a cardboard from one of the events they had when they were talking about the meetings and what they want to do. And so they was putting these out. I said, I want to grab a few of them. And I only had one left, so I just put it together with a styrene chassis and some Aspen 100-ton truck wheels, and there you go. Okay. Now, as you come around, this is when the line splits. It does a couple of interesting things here. This one goes back to Hidden Hills, which completes a loop for the upper level, and then this one for DuPont Staging goes back down. And let me show you where it ends up at. And it goes back here and goes all the way down and all the way around. And that goes to my large staging yard. I don't know if you can see it or not. Probably can't really see it. Yeah, a lot of wires are in the way. Let's see if I can get a good view of it. Oh, there you go. And you can kind of see the staging yard. All right, you're going through the staging yard. You come back out along this route on the lower level here. And you're heading all the way around down to the town of Honey. And from the town of Honey, you got good old Cranky doing his job. You got a